Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another live stream. It's been a long time since I did one of these, and I just noticed that I put the wrong date in the description. It is no longer July 12th. I don't know if you'll see this. It's September... What is it? September 22? I believe that's the date. Anyways, guys, welcome back. It's been a long time since I've done one of these. I guess it was... I guess it was July 12th was the last one. Took a little break, but I'm back. I don't think I'll be doing these quite as regularly as I was at one point, but someone said my mic is low. Check. But I would like to do them every now and then, and check 1 2 check. How's that sound? I think that's good. I think I fixed that. Turn up your mic, everyone says. So this is a little bit delayed. I thought YouTube fixed this, but maybe they didn't. I swear that I read somewhere that YouTube had sorted out some of their latency, because right now it's about, I don't know, it's like 5 seconds behind. So I see your comments, and I'll be reacting to them a little bit later. So I hope you guys are doing well. Friday night for many of us. I guess some people it's already Saturday. What's your guys' plans for the weekend? This is mine right now. All I have planned. Jam out on live stream for a little bit. And I should say that I do want to keep these things like as interactive as possible. So if you have questions, please hit me up in the chat there, and I'm going to try to get around to as many of you as possible. But the nature of it, there are a lot of people commenting. If I don't respond to you, just feel free to keep asking the question. I'll try to get around to you guys eventually. So why don't we just move over to these comments, see what you guys are saying here. Trey Bello says he's going to be in the studio with his band. That's awesome. What kind of music do you guys make? Will Pippa says, will you go to GitCon? I've never heard of GitCon in my life. I don't plan on going. If they invite me, I might go. I've never heard of it. Is it new? That seems quite interesting. Ed B says, are you from Winnipeg? Yes, I certainly am, my friend. Are you from Winnipeg as well? Our football team is playing tonight, the Blue Bombers, and I got invited to go, but I had a couple other little things that I was hoping to do. I was hoping to do this stream, and the game will have started by the time that I end this stream. Daniel Garcia says, what setup are you using right now on your guitar? Is it direct to your interface to your amp and mic? I never go directly into the interface. I can't stand that sound. I've never found an amp modeler that has really worked for me either, so I'm old school with that. My guitar goes into my pedal board, which goes into my amp, which goes into a microphone, which then goes into my audio interface, which then goes into the computer, and further to you guys. Someone says play Voodoo Child. Do I remember how to play that? I think I do. I mean, I guess you can't play that one without the wah, though. And apparently there's some weird settings currently on my wah. Okay, I don't know what's going on there. I gotta adjust something. No, now is not the time to obsess over that. I don't know what's going on with that. Usually I like my wah to be a little bit, I like the spectrum to be a little tighter than that, but that's something I can worry about at another time. Daniel Garcia says, can you see my fret or my pedal board? You certainly can. I'd made a video on that very subject. I show it to you now, but then I have to start moving things around, and that gets very complicated. But you can, in fact, see it. I think the video is called Pedal Board Lookbook, Autumn 2017, I think was the name of that video, and you can check it out. I put it out, I don't know, maybe a month ago, 2 months ago. Someone's commenting on "Oh Baby Oh" being a great song. Thank you very much. I hope you guys also... So that's in reference to, I guess, a video I did where I reacted to a bunch of my old music, and I wrote a song called "Oh Baby-O," and I hope you also heard the redone version of that one, because the one where I was singing it is not all that great. But I'm quite happy with the way that the version that I did in the studio ended up sounding. Sorry, I'm trying to read comments as I speak, which is like rubbing your face and hitting your belly at the same time, or whatever that is. Chris Levescu says, do you use key center or chord scale focus on solos or both? So would you refer to key center? You're just thinking, okay, G, D, C, we're in the key of G. Solo using a G shape. And all that kind of thing. And then chord scale would be, how do these notes relate down to the chord? For me, the way that I see the guitar is very much how each note relates to the underlying chord. So what I mean by that is, without diving too much into theory, if I have a certain chord, say an A7 chord, I'll be thinking to myself, okay, this is the fifth of that chord. Here's the major third, minor third. Here's the root, the flat seven, the six, the four, and so on. And so when that chord changes, all those notes have now a different relationship to the chord that's underneath. And so I like to see the guitar in terms of that, and I think that allows you to outline the chord, but it also allows you to play around with the chord. So if I know that these notes are in my underlying chord, if I put notes that are not in the chord on offbeats or in places of less musical emphasis, I can get some really cool sounds. Stuff like that. You can kind of play around with the notes that you're highlighting if you know which notes are kind of more worthwhile to focus on, if that makes sense. Chicken Wing says, my name is Jeff. Hello, Jeff. Where's the comment button, says someone. Well, you must have figured it out if you left a comment. Am I somehow related to B.B. King? Well, probably way, way back. Like I'm talking like hundreds of thousands of years back. Because I think we're all related to each other in one way. There's a little BB-esque thing for you guys. Though my tone is definitely not really very BB-y with this guitar. Oh man, a lot of comments coming in here. Could you check your Twitter, tweet you something regarding a song? I'm not going to do reactions to songs today just because I'm not set up to do that. It requires me to run another laptop into my audio device, and I can't listen to that right now. Like, as you see, I don't have any headphones on, and no one else would be able to hear that. So another time I will do that thing where I listen to your songs, react to your songs, but today is not the day that I am set up to do it. Where did I go to school, says Chris Levescu. I went to Humber College in Toronto. Diego Flester says, what album are you listening to lately? So I've mentioned this before. Like, I think you'd be surprised at how little music I listen to. This was not always the case in my life. I used to listen to music all the time. Anytime I had a chance. If I was on the bus, if I was like doing cooking, all the time I would be listening to music. But when I started like really doing it professionally, spending 8 hours or more on it, I found that I just needed a break. Like when I'm not working on music, I need to get away from it. I need to not be thinking about music, or it's just too much for me. I get burnt out. And so when I'm driving in the car, the first thing I like to listen to is like the sports news here. If not, then I'll probably just put it on the radio, or even listen to a podcast or something like that. So that's kind of where I'm more inclined to listen to now. Jonathan Bjornson, thank you so much for the super chat. And what super chat is, you guys can pledge a couple bucks, toss a couple bucks in the tip jar, and then I see your comment, it stands out, and I will make sure that I respond to it, because I truly appreciate that kind of thing. Do I have a Cure song in my repertoire? I'm going to disappoint you and tell you I don't. I don't even think I could name a Cure song. That's kind of bad, isn't it? I'd embarrass myself if I started talking about the Cure, because I don't know their music. Was Ian Astbury in the Cure? If he was, I saw him play with the Doors of the 20th. Ian Astbury. I saw him play with the Doors of the 21st Century a couple years back. Show us some of your favorite jazz licks, says Edwin. Okay, I have a couple. I don't use them as much anymore because I don't play a ton of jazz. My schooling was predominantly in jazz music, and I'd never really deeply loved that music in the same way I love other types of music. And so I think my biggest takeaway from jazz is I use jazz to see the guitar the way I do. But at the same time, there were a couple licks that I learned. Most of them were Charlie Parker ones. Here's one that he plays all the time. I like that one quite a bit. Another one that Charlie Parker would do, like say you have an A7 chord. That's kind of cool, and I like that one. There was one that I learned from a gypsy jazz guitar player. How'd that one go? That's a cool one. I guess, like, for me, I don't remember a lot of, like, the specific details of a lot of the things I learn. It's more like you learn it at one point, it sinks into your musical subconscious, and then that kind of influences everything down there. So if someone said, can you play a guitar solo like Charlie Parker? Well, now I can do it as well as I used to be able to do it, but I kind of have an idea of how he would phrase things. Something like that. I don't know. I mean, he's a saxophone player, so obviously that's not quite how he would do things, but anyway. Flats or drums? I have no idea what you mean by that, Pantera Bread. I do like Pantera Bread. Whenever I'm down in the States, I'll often go there. Oh, Jacob Shapiro says, play your current favorite blues lick. Oh, flat tunings? Play your current favorite blues lick. There was one that I came up with last night. And it would be something like this. I thought that was kind of cool. So sped up. That's kind of a cool one. When I try to find licks or try to come up with things, I'm usually just like sitting there and I find something that's cool and try to build on that, and then I just play it over and over and over again. Though sometimes when I'm like watching John Mayer on Instagram, I'll steal some of his stuff. One of my favorite licks that he played was like... something like that. So that would be over a D7 chord. Dang, that's a good one. John Mayer's a great guitar player. Great guitar player. Can I play Nirvana, says Alex Navarro? I certainly could, but I'm probably not going to. I've never been a big Nirvana fan. I tell people this, and this, I'd say like that's my guilty musical displeasure is Nirvana, because I respect them. I understand like the cultural impact that they have, and I think they made some really great music, but to be honest, I don't like it. Anytime it comes on the radio, I change the channel. I just I'm not a fan. Though it Smells Like Teen Spirit rocks pretty hard. But, I mean, you can't like everything, and it gets to a point in your life where you're just like, I'm going to only listen to the things that I really like to listen to. I'm not going to try to force myself to like something that I don't. And I have done that before. I really forced myself to listen to lots of jazz music. And I grew an appreciation for that, and I still enjoy some of it, but there are a lot of things in that genre that I respect and I think are incredible, but I don't want to listen to. But there are some things that are great. Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, John Coltrane's Blue Train, like all that old groovy stuff from, I guess, what was that, the 50s? 40s? No, 50s? The stuff heavily blues influenced I really like. Hank Mobley, big fan of him. I swear I saw someone who said something about eyebrow tips. Man, people come to me for hair tips. Like, honestly, like I spend such... I'll tell you how you grow eyebrows like me. You get born from the same parents that I have. Because it's like, it's purely genetic. It's not like I am like putting like olive oil in there and hoping they grow. That's just purely natural. Same with beard and hair. What is the longest song you've ever heard? And how long was it? And how would you rank it from 1 to 10? I guess there's like some classical songs that go on forever, but I don't remember specifically. What's his name? Stravinsky. I listened to The Rite of Spring once. That's kind of like one big long song. Do I gent? No, I suck at metal. I don't listen to metal much either. That's also another thing. Big respect for it, but it's just never been something that's clicked with me. Bobby Johnson says, I don't know if we can be friends. That's disappointing. Very, very disappointing. Is it snowing in Winnipeg yet? Man, it's actually miserable outside right now. I wouldn't be surprised if it snows a little bit today. I've seen a bunch of people asking about Dire Straits, and I really, really do love Mark Knopfler. I don't know that I specifically remember many of his licks, but I can probably... Hang on, I gotta sneeze. Oh, Lord have mercy. There's a little Dire Straits-esque thing. I know that's not exactly how he plays it, but that's kind of in his vein, and I love that style. Mark Knopfler's all about those two little pincers, getting that little, that the thumb and the index going. Love it. That's the lick, isn't that? That's the Sultans of Swing one. He uses that in another song too. Love it. Somebody was saying something about my pickups, I think. Goldie Glock says, what pickups are you using? These pickups came installed in this guitar. And these are EMG pickups. I don't know the exact ones. EMG 81, is that a thing? But I never would have installed these ones. Like, I never would have seeked these out. But I found this guitar in the back of the music store I worked with. And it's a 1988 American Strat. And I was like digging around. I think I was maybe searching for I don't know. Maybe it was like a rental, or maybe I was searching for a repair that had been done. And so I found this guitar, and I pulled it out, and I was like, oh, well, this is a cool case. And so I took it to the manager, and I asked him what the deal was with this guitar, and he ran the serial number, and he's like, oh, that's stock. I guess it's been sitting back there for years and years. And so he's like, okay, put it on the floor. And so I said, well, how much do you want to sell it for? And he said, $350. And I said, hold it right there, Charlie. I will buy that guitar. And so I bought this guitar for $350. It's my metal machine, even though I don't play metal. It's got a Floyd Rose on it, which, to be honest, I kind of hate. It's got, the Floyd Rose system. And it's got the EMGs. And I just kind of figured, like, I would never buy this guitar. I would never seek out a guitar like this, but it was such a good deal, and it doesn't hurt to have a medley type of guitar in the arsenal. So that's the story of the old black Stratocaster. Gotta love it. Evans Joff says, greetings from Maine. Love your channel. Thank you so much, man. I hope everything is wonderful over there in Maine, and you are eating fresh lobster, and I'm jealous of people who can eat fresh seafood on the regular. What do you call a guitar in a television? A Telecaster. Yes, I guess you could call it that. Someone was saying, am I going to clean shave for $200,000? No, I am not. The last time I shaved, this happens, like every time I shave, I just look at myself in the mirror and regret it. And that's not a nice feeling. And I said to myself once, I'm not going to do that anymore. Any guilty pleasure songs, says Juan Morocco. I listen to a lot of pop radio. I don't know if that's really a guilty pleasure. I'm pretty open and okay with it. I don't know. I can't think of any. I love Teenage Dream by Katy Perry. That's one of my favorite pop songs of all time. Just dropped my guitar pick. Chris asks, how do I approach ear training? I sucked at ear training for a long time. I had to spend a lot of time getting way better at that. Because growing up, I'm a victim, or not a victim. I'm a student, or someone who was born with the internet. Not born with it, but I grew up playing guitar and having the internet available to me. I could look up the tabs to any song that I wanted to learn. And because of that, I didn't have to spend a lot of time listening to something over and over again and figuring it out by ear. There was always the way of cheating, looking for the shortcut. And because of that, my ear was pretty underdeveloped. So when I went away for college and really started trying to develop my skills as much as I possibly could, I noticed that, okay, I'm doing quite well in all these courses. I feel really comfortable in all the courses I'm taking except for ear training. That one I struggled so hard with. So I was like, okay, well, this needs to be a focus of what I do. So I would spend at least an hour every day, and I would just do various ear training exercises. And I had a huge amount of different things I would do. Everything from just identifying intervals, identifying chords, and I had software that allowed me to do this. It was called Aurelia, which is an ear training software, and it would like play a chord, and I would say, oh, that is an A7 flat 9. Plays another chord. Okay, that's a D minor major 7. And on top of that, it would like maybe play a melody, and then you'd have to write out that melody. And then on top of that, like seeing something, a set of notes, and being able to sing them back, doing a lot of singing as well, really helped with that. But ear training was historically something I struggled with. Yimo Notzi says, do you listen to any music from Quebec? My favorite Quebec band is a band called the Lost Fingers, and they play 80s pop music in a gypsy jazz style. Love them. Okay, Darwin C says, knowing what you know now, as a beginner intermediate guitar player, what would you do first? Buy a good amp or build your pedal board? I'm not the biggest gearhead in the world. I think gear comes second to everything. So to answer your question, I would probably say a good amp. That's going to go further than a pedal board, because essentially, to me, a pedal board accentuates the sounds that you're already creating. The amp is much more part of what you're doing, much more defining in your sound. But the most important thing is your fingers and what you can do on guitar. When people ask me, okay, what should I spend money on as a guitarist? Lessons is like the number one thing. Spend less time worrying about the gear. The best guitar players can make a Squier Stratocaster coming out of a basic beginner amp sound amazing. And I learned this lesson. I remember this very clearly. When I worked in the music store, I started becoming really obsessed with gear because I was around it all day. People were talking about gear all day. And then I had kind of a revelation when one of the older guys who worked there, he went into one of the practice rooms with the Squire Strat Pack, which is, I guess, like, I don't even know how much they cost, $250 for the guitar and the amp. And he was just making, like, he sounded like he was Jeff Beck playing through that thing. It sounded amazing. And I was like, why am I worrying about all this gear? What matters? It's just playing. Speaking of which, I should play something again for you guys soon. R. Fetivate says, what's your practice routine right now? I probably haven't practiced guitar since I left college. I don't practice anymore. For the most part, if I'm playing my guitar, it's because I'm doing something that is going to go up on my YouTube page. I spent a lot of time practicing music, and when I finished school, it was like, okay, now this is the time to do something with this. And my idea was always that these 5 years that I'm at school, that is my time to practice. That is the time for me to become the best musician I possibly can be. And I would spend 5 to even up to like 8 hours almost every day doing that. But I told myself when I'm done school, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm gonna get as far as I can, and then I'm just gonna focus on being creative and having fun with this and trying to make an income out of this. And so for me, when I'm playing guitar now, I'm doing something for my YouTube page. It has to have, apart from a couple little things that I'll just mess around with, if I'm making music, it's gonna be posted somewhere online. So I don't really practice anymore. If somebody hired me to play a gig, then I would have to learn their songs, but I don't know if that would be really considered practicing. Kinohi Lari says, what do you do to warm up before a gig? I probably should do more. I usually I don't play a lot of gigs anymore, but when I was gigging a lot, I'd usually show up, set up my stuff, drink a beer, and hang out with the band, and that was my warm up. No, not the best. I'd probably recommend running some scales or just like spending some time playing on your instrument, but I would find like I'd be playing like 3 sets of fairly easy music, and by the time, like the first set, no one was even at the bar. So by the time the people were showing up, I was already warmed up, so that was that. If I could dye my hair a crazy color, what would you choose? I don't think I would dye my hair a crazy color. Or if I would, I could dye my hair a crazy color, but I don't want to, so I don't. I've never thought about that question. The answer is I just would never do it, I don't think. Gibbous Gang says, who cares about guitar? Your hair is beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm trying to get a hair sponsorship. I've been trying to get like L'Oreal to sponsor one of my videos, and no one's interested. Maybe one day. Pedro Guarderas says, what's your opinion on Adam Jones from Tool? So when I used to do these streams quite a bit, I had one thing that I would ask of you guys. If you want to know my opinion on someone, first tell me your opinion. Tell me, here's what I think about Adam Jones from Tool. Here's what I like about him. What do you think about that? Because to me, that creates a little bit more of an interesting conversation than if someone says, hey, what do you think about Jimi Hendrix? Yeah, he's the greatest guitar player to have ever lived. I can't really weigh in on that. Whereas if someone's like, what do you think about Jimi Hendrix's songwriting? That's a little more interesting conversation in my world. I also never listened to Tool, so I don't have any opinion on was it Adam Jones? All right, I'm going to jam out and play something for you. I'm going to make a little funky loop. I've got my loop station here. And let's just see what happens. Oh, man. So here's the thing that's annoying about the loop station. I don't have it auto-quantizing, so if I hit the button at the wrong time, it kind of cuts off and the rhythm gets all messed up. So let me try that again. I don't think I got it that time either. Oh, no, that's not bad. I can jam to that. Ooh, how's this for an idea? Get a little 8-bit action on this. Yeah, that went a little off the chains there. Hope you guys enjoyed that. That was fun. I haven't jammed like that for a while, so. Whew. Very good times. Yeah, that's the WMD, the Bit Crusher there. I hope that sounded good on your guys' end. I don't know what the mix was like. I was trying to fix it kind of on the spot. But that pedal is the WMD Geiger counter. You can hear me talk about that in my what was that video? 5 weirdest guitar pedals. I also used it to play Purple Haze at one point. Yeah, that thing's cool. That thing is real cool. Anyway, let's see what else you guys are saying up there. Guitar faces. I have no control over that. That just happens. You gotta let it loose sometimes. Evans Joff, thanks for stopping by. Hopefully your lady likes what you make her. So yeah, Soundboy89 asks, is there a guitar loop pedal with auto quantizing? This one actually does have it, but you need to put the metronome on, and then that gets a little bit annoying for you guys to listen to. So I just opt out of that and try to wing it a little bit. Yeah, that did sound like Funk 49, didn't it? Good point. Do I like Lynyrd Skynyrd? Of course. Simple Man, great song. That Smell. Great song. Tuesday's Gone. Yeah, love Lynyrd Skynyrd. A very early influence of mine. Mark ST says, Ry Cooder has a style I can't grasp. It's probably his pedals. Usually, don't think about pedals first. It's usually something else. It's usually something in their fingers. Everything else accentuates that. From what I know, with Ry Cooder, he plays a lot of slide stuff and he uses a lot of open tunings. And I think that can create some very unique and interesting sounds. As far as gear goes, I was actually talking about this with a buddy last night. He will use, apparently he has the Cooder caster, and it's a Stratocaster with a lap steel pickup, and the body's been hollowed out to fit that in there. Then it's got a telly neck and creates some pretty cool tones. Harry Brown, not much is up with me. What's up with you, my friend? Alicio Marucci says, how do you avoid getting burnt out from practicing? I guess it's always to have goals in mind and make sure that at the end of the day, everything you're practicing is going towards your greater goals, or else you'll end up, you need to see an outlet for what you're working on. So for me, I played in a lot of bands when I was practicing my hardest, and I was also at music school. And so I would practice things and use them in my bands. Like if I was working on I don't know, certain types of soloing. I would certain soloing concepts. I would record on my loop station little things that the band would play. So like I was playing in a ska band at that time. So I would record maybe like a little ska loop. And so if I wanted to work on a certain concept, I now have a practical application for that concept. When I go and play live with that band or go to rehearsal, I can pull out some of these things I've worked on, and that's very inspiring and exciting. So let's say I wanted to work on bebop scales, outlining a D minor chord and playing some of the in-between notes there. First, I'd make a little exercise out of it. So maybe this is the exercise. I'm just running up and down the scale. Then after that, I'm going to try to have some fun with it. Once I'm feeling good with that, once I have that under my fingers, it's important to then try to apply it in a musical setting. The point is, you are trying to... There's kind of two aspects of practicing, and I see two streams of thought that you should have when you're practicing. The first stream of thought is I am making an effort to acquire a new skill or learn something new. That can be a scale, that can be whatever. That's a million different things. Then the next aspect is, now that I've gotten a technical mastery of that, I've gotten under my fingers, I understand it, I see where these notes are on guitar, how can I apply it musically? And that's equally as important, if not more important. And if you're making sure you have a creative outlet for all these things you are learning, then that can keep you inspired. And even more importantly, if you can then take that and play that, use that creative outlet and transfer it into something when you're playing live or with a band or at your school or whatever, that keeps it even more interesting. So that's a long-winded answer to that question. My nature is to go off a little bit when people ask me things. So if you ask me something and I respond to you, you're going to get probably a bit of a rant. Telly or Strat for different things. I like different ones. My Telly is my go-to. I bought it with money I'd saved up for a year from reffing hockey, and that guitar has a very special place in my heart. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Fender or Gibson, kind of the same with them. I mean, they're both different for different things. I only have one Gibson, which is my reverse flying V. I think I've naturally gravitated more towards Fenders in my life, but like my dream guitar is to own. There's a specific Gibson. It's an ES295, and yeah, I don't know. Different strokes for different folks. Desert Phoenix says, I hate it when I hear the tunes in my head, but I can't translate it on the guitar. My friend, you need to do more ear training. Ear training helps create a connection between what you hear in your head and what comes out of your fingers. And that is, to me, mastery on guitar is having a simultaneous connection between whatever you hear and the notes that come out of your guitar. And it can be something where it can be very simple. A guy like Neil Young, I believe that he has mastered guitar for himself. What he hears on guitar comes out of his instrument simultaneously. Then you have other masters like Pat Metheny, who's extremely, extremely technically and harmonically advanced. He's also a master, but what his musical voice is very different than someone like Neil Young. Nick Powell says, do you have any favorite video game soundtracks? The Skyrim one is one that stands out to me. All those early Nintendo ones that I've covered I grew up with those songs, and I have a lot of nostalgia whenever I hear the Ocarina of Time soundtrack or like Super Mario 3, and that was one of the reasons why I covered those ones as well, because it was a trip down memory lane playing those. You know what's an amazing soundtrack to a lesser-known game is Tetris Attack for the SNES. My God. Great game, great soundtrack. I wish it was more popular. If it was more popular, I probably would consider doing a big video game cover of that one. Ryan Varnell says, what style of music has had the greatest impact in helping you grow your playing? Definitely jazz music. It's extremely complicated music, and while I never considered myself like a master, I became somewhat competent at it, and understanding jazz and how to play jazz made everything else significantly easier for me. Any guitar pet peeves? Like with my guitar or with guitarists? I definitely have some for both. One of my guitar pet peeves is when my Floyd Rose system goes out of tune. And this happened right before I hopped on the live stream. Because with a Floyd Rose, there are these little locking, this locking nut, and you screw that in so your strings don't move. And so when you're rocking out with the whammy bar, there's no friction created here because they're locked in place. The problem is, and so the fine tuning is done with these little knobs here. But if you have it screwed all the way down, you can't make it any more sharp, or if you have it all the way out, you can't make it any more flat. So when that happens, you need to unscrew these things and tune it up here. And the wrench for these things is like I guess it's a weird one because I could only ever find one that fit, and it's just annoying to go and dig up that wrench and find that. So that's one of my guitar pet peeves. What, in your opinion, is the greatest song of all time, says Narrow Jam? Well, that's a very subjective thing. What is great to me is not great to someone else. What has impacted the music that I enjoy may have no impact on the music that someone else enjoyed. My favorite song is probably Little Wing by Jimi Hendrix. That one stands out to me. As far as what's the greatest song, I don't know. I think Rolling Stone said it was like a Rolling Stone or something, but I don't know. That's a tough question to answer. R. Fetvate says, what YouTuber would you like to collaborate and work with? Oh, man, there's so many. And I don't do much collaborating. I'd like to do more. I think I would get most excited about working with non-musical YouTubers and finding weird ways of making something together. I don't know. I haven't thought about that one too much. It would probably be like someone who is involved in the art world but also does something that is not music, and we could find a cool way to bring our two things together. To me, that would be exciting. Juan Morocco says, can you do a maple syrup giveaway? I don't have any maple syrup to give away. Maybe I should. Maybe I'll throw some maple syrup candies into the next thing that I give away. How do I create that soft jazzy sound? Says Bobby. Easy enough to get, like, I assume you're talking about like this kind of tone. Like that kind of thing. That is just, you take your pickup and you roll down the tone all the way. And then on top of that, it's also in thinking about how you play these notes as well, because like in jazz music, I very rarely hear, or I don't like to hear vibratos. To me, that doesn't sound jazzy at all. Whereas that does more so to me. Pippa says, will you do any changes to the channel? I mean, it's always evolving. There's always new things that I'm trying out. Like a live stream, for example. But I don't know of any great massive changes that I will do. I don't know. If something cool comes up, I might. If something cool comes up, I might do something, but I don't know. No, nothing on the docket right now. Tanner Johnson says, have you ever been to Arborg? It's an hour north of Winnipeg. I've never been there, but I do know a girl who I'm pretty sure is from there. But no, I've never been. Money Launderer says, what kind of jazz does Bill Frisell play? I'll tell you what kind. My favorite kind, whatever that happens to be. I love Bill Frisell. Amazing guitar player. Purely tasteful, and it just like has such an element of the stuff that I love too, which is mostly like blues and Americana music. So when I hear him play, I hear all those things that I'm really deeply drawn to as well. Scott TK says, what conditioner do I use? Whatever is cheapest. Mateus Asado, he's a wicked guitar player. That's a guy he'd be fun to jam with. That'd be really, really cool. Yeah, he's a beast on the instrument. Absolutely amazing. What is the best place to start re-lessons to learn that style? Jazz style? The best thing you can do is find a guitar player that you like who plays jazz and take lessons from them. Nothing can replace sitting in the same room as a great guitar player and just jamming with them. Waffle Priest, thank you very much for those nice words. It's always nice to hear. Noah Bonavisu says, what's the worst album you've had to listen to? So I used to go down to Nashville a lot, and if you followed my channel, you know that I was trying to pursue songwriting in the country world years ago. And so I used to go down to Nashville a lot, and I would go to the NSAI various things that they would put on. And the NSAI is the National Songwriting Association Institute or something like that. It's just basically a collective group of songwriters, but it's geared towards up-and-coming songwriters, if you want to call them that. It's an organization to help people get started. It's not professionals are not part of that organization. Rather, they are the guys who get paid to come and talk to the people. And so they'll put on a bunch of clinics and stuff like that. And I used to go to those, and it was great for networking. I met some really cool people from there. But one of the things you'll do is when you go to these things is you just hand out your CD to everyone. And since, there's no barrier of entry besides paying the fee to get involved in the organization. They don't audition you or anything. There's some bad stuff. And I have a stack of CDs that people have given me that are bad. Real bad. Like, think of the worst thing you can imagine, and like that's basically what it is. Power to them. Keep on rocking. Chicken Wing says, have you heard of Triumph? I certainly have. I know actually Rick Emmett, the guitarist and the singer from Triumph. He was one of my mentors in university, and is someone who I consider very crucial in helping me craft the career that I have built. And I haven't talked to him for a while, but he's someone who had a big impact on my life, and I still consider him a friend. And he's just an awesome musician with awesome stories. Edwin Carranza says, play some Continuum. Oh man, Continuum, that's one of my favorite albums of all time. Maybe I'll jam out a little bit on that one. Why not? Oh, I also have my synth pedal hooked up. Let's see what cool tones I can get out of this thing. There's a little continuum-esque thing. Fun to jam out. I don't do that much anymore. I should make an effort to definitely sit down and just play my guitar without thinking about making videos. It's kind of nice. Thunder, I'm sorry. I don't mean to ignore your comments. There's just a bunch there, and I miss them. I miss them. What were you saying? I can't even find it. Leave me another comment, and I'll try to spot it and respond to you. Can you give me an advice? I'm starting with funk music, and I play guitar, and I'm a little bit insecure. Says Rodriguez. What would you like advice with? Yeah, leave me a comment. Advice being less insecure with funk music? I'm not quite sure. Not 100% sure what you're asking there, my friend. Favorite Pink Floyd song? Maybe Shine On You Crazy Diamond. Maybe, I love the solo in the wall. Oh, no, it's got to be Money. That one, Money is just money. When it switches from 7 to the guitar solo where it goes right to 4/4, that is just such a good moment. Peter Broman says, I'm really trying to find my voice by mixing some type of Hendrix, John Mayer, and John Frusciante, but I have a hard time playing them smooth between chords. Any tips? Yeah, if you're ever struggling with technical stuff, do it slow. Do it slower than you would ever think that you need to. The reason being is because if you do something at a slow speed, you can make efforts to change bad habits. Like, let's say I'm trying to learn this Hendrix type of lick. See, that's what I want to learn. If I do that, if I'm trying to do that faster than I can do it, it's just going to be, I'm never going to get that. If I keep on doing that over and over and over again for the rest of my life, I'm never going to be able to play it perfectly at that speed. If I want to do something that is outside of my reach, what I do is I slow it way down to a speed that I can do it perfectly. You have to be honest with yourself and find that speed. And it should be probably very, very slow. So many guitar players don't take this into account. You have to play slow to play fast. You perfect things at a slow speed, because at a slow speed, you can analyze it. You can say, oh, I notice that whenever I slide like this, I go too far, or whatever. You can create good and perfect habits at a slow speed. Things that you would never notice or be able to conceptualize at a fast speed. It's just going by too fast. I think that was our lick. Or whatever it was. So what I would do is I would get my metronome. Find the setting that I can play it perfectly at. And just repeat that. Make an exercise of it. Do it over and over and over and over again until I feel like this is the easiest thing to do in the world. And then I speed it up just a little bit. Speed it up a little bit more. I keep on changing the lick, I know. Until you get it to the point where it feels as comfortable playing it fast as it did when you were playing it slow. But this is a very gradual thing. And this will likely take, if you're doing it right, this will not take an hour. This will not take a day. This will take maybe a week, maybe a month. Don't rush it. To play fast, you need to play slow. I went to school with the world's fastest drummer. At least I believe he's still the world's fastest drummer. I don't think anyone's beat his record. He beat the record for single stroke rolls at 16 years old, and then he did it again later in his 20s. And I remember asking him, I was just asking about his practice regimen. I said, Tom, what do you do to make you so fast at drums? How did you become the world's fastest drummer? I was kind of anticipating he would tell me all these crazy techniques that he would do, playing these crazy fast speeds. And he was like, you know what? 95% of the time, I just get my practice pad. I get my metronome at 60 beats per minute. Pretty slow. And he said I just do stroke, stroke, hit, hit. And he said what he would do is he would just make sure that every one of those hits is the most absolutely perfect and efficient thing that he could play. And so that when he slowly did speed it up for that other 5% of the time he was working on that stuff, he maintained that perfect form, that perfect posture. And because of that, he was able to become the world's fastest drummer. So when people say, how do you play fast? How do I do something that I'm not technically able to do now? You do it incredibly, incredibly slow. And that's when you're gonna find results. And most people don't have the patience for this, and that's why people struggle with technique. Anyway, that's my thoughts on that. Thunder9501. Okay, I see your comment now. When buying new guitars, are you looking for Les Pauls or more Pauls? I haven't bought a new guitar for like 10 years. So I don't look for either of them. I wouldn't mind owning a Les Paul, but I don't know. I don't have a ton of desire to own more guitars than I do. I'm pretty happy right now. The happiness in my life doesn't come from buying guitars in the way that it used to, or buying new gear. I'd rather spend that money in other places, I think. Though my dream guitar, the ES295, that would bring me a lot of happiness. Benjamin, can you give us tips for finger picking? I'm getting new to it, and so finger picking is like the kind of this stuff. My advice, again, like I said with the last question, do it really, really slow. I found that, so this is one of the places where I found learning tabs really, really helped, because I could see it helped me visualize what I was doing much easier, because it seems really complicated to think, okay, I'm doing this with my thumb, and then I'm doing this with my fingers. It makes it seem like you have to think of two things at once. But what I would do is I thought of it as one thing. Here's my one motion I'm making. So I would say, okay, here's the one thing I'm doing. I'm playing this note. Second note, I'm doing this. Okay, that's easy enough. Let's add another element in there. Okay, let's add another element in. Being able to break it down is really crucial, and also, again, just doing it really, really slow. And learn Chet Atkins songs. Chet Atkins is the master of that. All right. What else are you guys saying up here? Do I have any opinions on what I like or dislike in a bass player rhythm section in general? Yeah, certainly. I don't care about flash. Flash means nothing to me for the most part. Well, flash, that's not entirely true. Flash can be a great thing, but you have to be very, very tasteful with when you decide to show off. But for the most part, that's not what a rhythm section is meant to do. And when I'm playing rhythm, I'm thinking the same thing. I want a rhythm section that best serves the song, whatever that happens to be. If it requires flash and big drum fills and crazy things, awesome. But for the most part, I want to know that everything is perfectly in time, locked in. And I also want to know that these guys know the song and that I don't have to worry about leading them through the changes or leading them through the part. Being prepared, being reliable, being steady is to me so much more important than playing with a lot of pizzazz. Guys, I'm going to wrap this up real soon. I'll answer a couple more questions, play a little bit more, and then I'm going to call it a day. What kind of pick do I prefer using? I use these Dunlop green, was this an alligator or a crocodile on it? They're 1.5 millimeter Dunlop USAs. I reached out to them to do a little sponsor thing, but they never responded. Hopefully, guys, Dunlop people, if you see this, I want to work with you. I really like your picks. I think it does make a difference. Someone asked if the pick makes a difference. It makes a difference in the sense if I was playing something that I wasn't used to, it'd feel very weird. I'm just so used to this that it feels great to play it. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. Let's do one more question here. Whoever leaves the next question, I'm going to answer. Okay, here's the last question. Sergio Israel says, any tips on creating chord progressions? The more harmony you know, the more you know about chords, the more options you have. And theory gives you options for what you can do. And that's an amazing thing to have. However, you don't need to fill a song with tricks. You got to listen to what the song is telling you to do. Another thing is looking for like what the bass is doing and looking at how the bass is moving, the roots are moving, can really open that up a little bit. For example, one of my favorite songs of all time is Blackbird by the Beatles. Listen to what the bass is doing. Right there, it's just going. Pretty cool. On the way back down, it's just descending. Really cool stuff. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Tune in Monday. I have one of the crazier, more ridiculous videos I've ever done coming out, and it's one of my favorite ones. I think you guys will enjoy it. It's goofy. It's fun. It's been an absolute pleasure to play for you all today. Stay tuned. I'll try to do these live streams more often. I'm not going to say that I'm going to do them every week, like I used to do before, but I am going to try to do them a little bit more frequently. So make sure you stay tuned. Thank you all for watching. Thank you guys all for tuning in. If you like what I do, going to my Patreon program is huge. That helps me maintain this channel, and it helps me keep making the content that I make. And so if any of you are my patrons, thank you so much. And if not, consider checking it out. You don't need to, but it does help a lot. So again, thank you guys. I'm gonna play my way out. Oh, that last chord is a little ugly. That's what I meant to do. See you guys.